sick and tired, living in a town filled with narrow minds and hate. They used to laugh at me, their children called me names. I would run and hide, feeling so ashamed just for being born. I was just a boy, punished for a crime that was not mine. Life ain't so easy.
Hello. Thank you so much for tuning in to A Spoonful of Comfort. I'm Claudrine Jackson, your host of A Spoonful of Comfort, and I'm here to remind you and me that we all have comfort we can give. Times are so troubling now that we need to comfort each other, and everybody has a little comfort they can give. That's why it's a spoonful. A spoonful is the minimum. Even my son, if you saw the show last week, you saw my son, PJ, who has autism, who cannot read or write or talk. But even PJ likes to give comfort. If I say, PJ, Mama needs a hug, he gives me a smile and a big hug. So even he wants to give comfort. So we need to remember that we can comfort each other because we're not getting it from the leadership in this country. Our country is being run by riffraff, rich riffraff, but still riffraff. If you cover riffraff with gold and then you scrape the gold away, you will see it's still riffraff. So we are to comfort each other and not to look to them for comfort. And one of the main things about comfort is everybody can do it. Everybody has comfort. It doesn't cost anything. And we can all help each other. Now, not only do we need comfort, we need more light in the world. There's so much darkness and so much evil out there that we hear more about the darkness and the evil. But the comfort for you and for me is that we are not a part of the darkness and the evil in the world. I am not a part of the darkness and the evil. You are not a part of the darkness and the evil. And if you are a part of the darkness and the evil, you better watch out because karma is going to get you. Do you know about karma? Karma is the law that whatever you put out into the universe is what comes back to you from the universe. So I have experienced karma, and I really believe in it. So think about karma when you're being evil and spreading darkness. But like I said, those of us, we are comforted by knowing that we are not a part of the evil and the darkness in the world. I want to tell you about my first book, Let There Be Light. This book I wrote in the 90s. I'm not trying to sell this book because it's out of print, but I still feel let there be light. So we can give comfort, we can give light. I want to read to you something from this book. It wasn't my words, it's something that someone else said. His name was Rishikavi, and I haven't read much that he wrote, but he wrote something that really impressed me. He said, darkness is capable of anything, but I will not contribute to this horrifying twilight. Though the terrors of the night be all around me, still I will celebrate the light and I will glorify the dawn. And that is my feeling. I will celebrate the light. I will glorify the dawn. And I know there are many people out there, even on this same station, the lovely WHPR in Highland Park, who believe in celebrating the light and glorifying the dawn. In keeping with my theme of comfort, I have a couple of guests who I'll be introducing to you after the break. They are spreading comfort. I want to remind you that you can't buy Let There Be Light, but you can buy Inspired by Autism right here at the gift shop at WHPR. And if you are Christmas shopping or holiday shopping, think about our gift shop here. And maybe come in and look and see if there's a gift that you'd like to give someone. And if you buy a copy of my book, and you come on Tuesday at 2, I will autograph it for you. So I'm going to take a short break, and I'll be back with my special guest that I have today. And let me remind you, if you try to please everyone, you might not please anyone. But if you please yourself, you'll know one person is pleased. Be right back after the break. So stick and stay and don't go away. Welcome back to A Spoonful of Comfort. I have a couple of very special guests that I want you to meet. They are some of the unsung heroes in the community. They are spreading comfort. The Purvis Jackson, our motto is taken from the scriptures, Matthew 25:40, which is, that which ye do for the least of my brethren, you do it also unto me. These are my constituents in working to try to bring comfort in the world. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Dr. Bob Bryant and Diane Martin. They direct a program called the Wishing Well Program, which they are going to tell you about what the Wishing Well Program does. Diane was a school psychologist for the special ed department. All of us are from the education field. I was a special education teacher. Diane was a special education psychologist. Now, the special ed department had, we never worked together because I did not meet Diane until my book came out. But the special ed department has psychologists and social workers that work with parents of children with special needs. At least they always did. Do you know, do they still have psychologists and social workers for the students?
Yes, but not nearly as many that are needed, okay, because the student population is in a situation very often in which they just need the extra support systems. You know, academically, the teachers are in the classrooms, the reading consultants, and it goes on and on. But for children who need to have some special attention based on their maybe behavior or social or emotional needs, really need to have the support of the social worker and the psychologist, and there's many schools that can certainly provide counselors on the elementary level, secondary level for these students.
Did you say you did a lot of counseling?
I've had the experience of receiving a master's degree in guidance and counseling, and also in student personnel services, which means that from elementary on to college, you could really serve as a support system to students. And then later, I did receive my certificate and my training from Wayne State University as a school psychologist. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I'm proud of you. It's people like you that inspire people like me. We need people like you helping with children such as my son. I also want you to meet Dr. Bob Bryant. Now, Dr. Bryant and I go way back. He was my children who are in their 50s. He was their social studies teacher right here in Highland Park. I mentioned on one of the shows that Highland Park was my roots. So Dr. Bryant has done so many things other than teaching that I'm going to let him tell you about his background.
Thank you so much, Claudine, and it is certainly an honor being here with you and on this special program. Just briefly, my background, I grew up in the South, a little small town called New Bern, Alabama, 50 miles south of Tuscaloosa, and that's where I received my elementary, middle school, and high school training, and then went on to graduate and went to Alabama State University at the time, graduating in 1967, and I entered the service 3 years there, in which I spent 1 year in Vietnam. So I am a Vietnam veteran, and from there I came to Detroit, Michigan. And fortunately, my first job that I applied for three in three districts, but Highland Park called me first, and I'm glad Highland Park did, because that's where I spent my first 21 and a half years as a social studies teacher. And from 1995, from 1975 coming forward, I spent as a school assistant principal and principal in three different districts. Highland Park in 21 and a half years, and went to Flint, where I spent 5 years as a principal of Beecher High School. And then I was recruited to join Detroit School District, where I spent 7 years, retiring in 2005 as a principal of Loving Community Elementary School. Now, this is where I met Mrs. Martin. I was a principal of Loving, and Mrs. Martin was my psychologist. And just a quick synopsis of how this program got started. There were a couple of young men who had just, they were fifth graders. They had just joined the school. They just hadn't been in the school any more than 3 weeks, constantly getting in trouble. So anyway, I ended up suspending them, and didn't know that it was a behavior problem until I talked with Mrs. Martin. It's something we've got to do about these kids. And going forward, they could care less until I called the police on them one day. Wow. I did call the police on them, and didn't know until the police came, two of them. They were, and I said, take these kids out of here. They don't want to obey, they don't want to follow the rule. And then I quickly, I decided to ask them, I said, where do you all come from, and who do you live with? And they told me that their mother had just passed, the young man's mother had just passed from childbirth 3 months prior to that day. And the father, I said, what about the father? Do you have a father? And he says, yeah, my father's home. I said, oh, he doesn't work? He says, no, he's in a wheelchair. I said, what happened? And he said that his father was shot. So at that point, he had never cried out of all the punishment he had received. So by that time, now I'm full of emotion.
Yes.
The police got tears in their eyes. So I said, officer, no, leave him here. Leave him here. And I said, son, we're going to take you home. I called Miss Martin. Miss Martin came. She happened to be in the building that day. I said, I'd like for you to accompany me to this young man's house, and let's see where he lives. He didn't live about 10 minutes from the house, and when we got there, he was, his father came to the door in a wheelchair with two other young siblings. And we talked with him, and we told him we'll get back with him. And when I got back, so smart, we have to do something. We've got to find a support program.
You know
and
what?
That's where I'll let her take it from there, how the wishing well started.
So
That's the beginning. That was the beginning.
right. One of the things that happen quite often is that when students are referred for testing or evaluation, they're having difficulty in the classroom, very often a behavior component is also a part of what need to be looked at in terms of why the child is behaving or expressing himself or herself in a particular way. Now, Dr. Bryan did not tell you, but at that particular time, that school building had a nice group of support staff. There were a teacher consultant, there was a social worker, there was a psychologist, there was a school nurse, and I tell you, we all fit in very well. And to be quite honest, the school nurse also had some training in behavior intervention, and also had been a part of training at Henry Ford Hospital on grief and loss issues. And so in brainstorming and looking at this particular child's behavior, we were also able to discuss in our meetings what might be some of the areas of emotional and social feelings issues that needed to be addressed. And very often they were related to the home environment or what might have been going on in their community. And so school was a way, when they got to school sometimes, it was, in a lot of cases, the comfort of self-expression, of talking about and sharing some of their feelings and thoughts and experiences.
And this is what I wanted to bring out, that I say we're all a part of the educational system, and you hear a lot about what goes on in the classrooms, but you don't hear about people like this outside of the classroom, in the community, that are doing things to make life better for our children. And I say they are unsung heroes because they are doing a lot. I've seen how hard they work for these children, and they are doing a lot of things that would not be done were they not doing it. They are offering comfort. Now, I want you to tell us what you do for the children during the holiday season.
Okay.
Well, we do a variety, and by the way, we work with these children and families all year long.
Right, yes.
Every holiday, and in between, because we have a lot of grief and loss engagement sessions with them at least once or twice in each school. And we work with 3 schools, besides 2 others other than Loving. John R. King, which is located on the west side of Detroit, is a pre-K 8 school. We have about 35 to 40 students and their families that we work with there. And Dawson is a pre-K 8 school located off of Davidson and Schoolcraft. There we have about 10, 15 children we work with and their families. All year long, during the summer, we take them to ball games. We took them to 3 Tigers ball games this past summer. We acknowledge them with gifts every holiday, and the big one that we do each year in acknowledging their loss is coming up. It's coming up on the 19th of December, and it's called a memorial program which we provide.
That's something I attended that really impressed me. But you did more than do the memorial.
Right.
Tell me what else you did.
Well, we have first of all, let me underscore this. Neither one of us get paid. We have about 4 core
That's
people.
why I
Neither
say
one of us get
unsung
paid.
heroes. That's right.
And we have to raise money. We raise money to finance these different gifts and programs that we have for these children all year long. And in addition to those, we take them on field trips. We took them to Chicago 3 years ago. This past summer, we took them to camp up at Camp Nisakoni, in which they were there for 3 days. And they're engaged in all kinds of activities at these different locations, swimming, they're playing all kinds of sports, they have supervision around the clock. We volunteer when we take them away. We're right there with them, and usually we have 1 or 2 other members of the Wishing Well program. So all of the expense that is incurred with financing these programs is raised through fundraising. And we really appreciate your support. We just had one at Baker's Keyboard, which is so many of you, I'm sure, listen to audience. You're familiar with Baker's, that's located on Livernois and West 8 Mile.
Well, our time has just flown by. We are the show is about to end, and when you have guests that have a lot to say, the time seems to go so fast. But what I want people to remember is when you hear about Detroit Public Schools, think of people like my guests today with the Wishing Well program who are doing things out of the classroom to help our children. And I know I probably never would have thought about these kinds of things had I not had a son with a disability, because some things aren't even on your radar until it happens to you. And the fact that they are helping children who need comfort So they give more than a spoonful of comfort. They told you about the event, but they didn't even tell you that they had a delicious dinner there for the kids. So
Yes, we do. And the thing about comfort, too, which is a great word to use, but for children, you know what it's about? It's feeling secure and feeling safe and feeling protected. And when you lose a mother, a father, or a sibling, or an aunt, a grandmother, because a lot of our children have been raised or have lived with grandparents, and they honor and they miss that type of love and care.
now
and
that's going to
understanding.
have to be the last word because it's time for us to go. The time went so fast. But thank you so much for tuning in to A Spoonful of Comfort. And remember, you can comfort others. Hopefully, we have said something that gives you comfort. Hopefully, we've shown you people that are giving comfort. Tune in next Tuesday at 1:30 for A Spoonful of Comfort. I'm Claudrine Jackson, and thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you, and may you continue to be blessed. Thank you.